Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Copilot Learning Hub. Today, we've got an awesome guest who's going to help us solve a major problem that you all have been asking about, and honestly, I've been asking about, which is, what exactly is Copilot for Finance? And what does it have to do with Excel? You know, how many people in the world use Excel? 1 out of 8 people in the world use Excel, right? It's one of the most powerful tools on the planet. And with the power of AI and Copilot intermingled with it, how can Excel be even more powerful? So I'm not going to answer these questions because I do not know. So we've called our friend Steve Huang to come and explain. Hi, Steve. Welcome.
Hi, Donna. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you work?
Yes, my name is Steve Huang, located in Canada, Toronto. I'm an Excel instructor, have been teaching Excel for the past 15 years.
That is awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. So what I would love for you to teach us today is this really interesting scenario you have around Copilot for Finance as it relates with Excel. Can you tell us a little bit about the scenario?
Yeah, so for many people working in finance and accounting, they have to perform the reconciliation, which usually take hours or even days, depending on how many records they have. So that's a very tedious process to go through. Now, with the Copilot for Finance, with the reconciliation feature that can help us to get that done in just a few minutes, rather than spending hours or even days to go through that.
Now, there is finance math that everyone can understand, which is, do you want something that takes hours every single time, or do you want something that can be done in minutes? I love minutes and not hours.
Exactly.
So I hear you've got a very, very slick little demo to show us. Do you want to start?
Yes, sure, yeah. So here in this Excel file, we have 3 worksheets. We have the trip budget, bank statement, and range.
Perfect.
What we're trying to do is to reconcile data between the trip budget and the bank statement.
Okay.
In the trip budget worksheet, we have the date, we have the category, we have the amount. Then we want to compare that to the actual, which is the bank statement. We also have the date. We know the different categories have so much amount. We want to see if they are the same or if they're different, how much they are different. So that can be done by using Copilot for Finance, the reconciliation feature. Now, before we do anything, we have to first make sure the data we're trying to reconcile have to be within a table, because Copilot for Finance will only work with data in a table.
Okay.
So now if I need my cursor in this range, I go to the ribbon, I can see Table Design tab. And that means this is a table. The table name is Bank Statement. Now, if I go to the trip budget worksheet, leave my cursor in the range, again, go to the table, I can see Table Design tab. That means this is a table, and the table name is trip budget. So they have to be in a table for us to use the Copilot for Finance. If we go to the third worksheet, here, this is a regular range. It's not a table. Then we cannot use the Copilot for Finance for the reconciliation. But it's very easy and simple to make that into a table. So I will need my cursor in this range over here. I go to the Insert tab. I click on Table. And this range from A1 to F44 is the right range. Okay. And my first row has a header. So my table has header, is checked. That's fine. So click OK. With that, this becomes a table. So in case you want to use a range that's not a table, you can make them into a table, then you can use the Copilot for Finance. So now I'm going to proceed with reconciling data between trip budget and bank statement.
Okay, so that part, everyone, I hope you're paying attention, because if your data is not in a table, put it into a table. Select the area, make a table. It's just like doing filtering and sorting, right? You know, you can't filter and sort in Excel until it's in a table so you can see what's going on. It's the exact same thing. I've fallen into this trap, and I'm like, I'm not copiloting this data. Why not? It's not in a table. Okay, so step 1 is that. Second step.
So now I'm going to use the Copilot for Finance to perform the reconciliation. So I go to Home tab. On the right side, I see Copilot for Finance. So I have installed it already. But at the end of the demo, I will show you how you can install that too. So I click on Copilot for Finance, which is now on the preview. And it pops up on the right side in the pane. I will click on Reconcile Data. And now I have to go through a few steps. So in the first step, I have to select two worksheets and table to reconcile. We're trying to compare that trip budget worksheet with the bank statement worksheet. So here for worksheet 1, I'm going to choose from that drop-down to choose trip budget. And within that worksheet, we may have potentially multiple tables. So I have to choose the right table. And in this case, we'll have only one table, which is trip budget. So that's what I'm going to use. Now, the second worksheet, I'm going to choose from drop-down, which will be the bank statement. Again, in that worksheet, we may have multiple tables. And in this case, we'll have only one, which will be this bank statement. So now, those are the two tables we want to compare to reconcile. Then I will click on Next.
Okay.
Now, in the second step, we need to select at least two columns, one of each type for each table. We'll have the two tables over here, and then I need to add column. Now, the two types of column are mapping key and monetary column. Mapping key is for us to find matching records. With our data over here, the mapping key will be the date and category, and the monetary column will be the amount. So now I will click on mapping key, and from trip budget, the mapping key I want to choose from that drop-down will be date. And from the bank statement, the corresponding column will be transaction date. So that's the first set. And then when you add another one, so add a column, again, mapping key. And the second one now, that's for the B. From the trip budget, that will be expenditure category. And then from bank statement, the corresponding column for that will be transaction category. So now we have the mapping key in place. Then I need to add a column again to choose a monetary column. So that will be the C this time. From the trip budget, that will be budget amount. And from the bank statement, that will be amount. So now we have all the three columns selected. Then I will click on Next. So with that, within 3 seconds, Copilot for Finance has almost now complete the reconciliation report. So from column A, B, C, we have all the records from trip budget. From column E, F, G, we have all the records from the bank statement. And then from column I, we have the column to show the difference between trip budget and bank statement. Now, we have 3 groups of transactions. We have unmatched transactions. We have 20 of those. And potentially matched transactions with 4 of those. And matched transactions, we have 13 of that. And for now, matched ones are being collapsed. I can use this plus button to expand to see the detail. We can also collapse all those groups by using this 1. Now we're seeing only the high level. And we can click on the 2 to expand to see all the details. So now let's review those individual records. So from the very bottom, for the match transactions, so from trip budget, we have February 19 for flights, we'll have $700. And from the bank statement, February 19 flights, we'll also have $700. And the difference is 0. So those are matching perfectly fine. And all the rest of the other 12, they're also matching fine with difference being 0. That's good. Now, for the second group are those potentially matched transactions. We have 4 of those. So from trip budget on February 19 for the food category, we'll have $120 being budgeted. From the bank statement on February 19 for the food category, we'll also have $120. So the difference is 0. And also for the other 3, they're matching perfectly fine too. The difference all is 0. Now you may wonder, how come those 4 are categorized as potentially matched transactions, while the other 13 here, they are matched transactions because they're all matching perfectly fine with difference being 0. So there is a difference. The difference is this. For those matched transactions, between two tables, they are one-to-one matching. For the potentially matched transactions, those are not one-to-one matching. So let me show you the detail. So for the matched transactions on February 19 flights, if I go to the trip budget, February 19 for the flights, we have 700 records. So this is one single record from trip budget. And now if I go to bank statement on February 19 for flights category, we'll also have $700. So between the two tables, it's one single record match another single record. And that's why they are under the match transactions. It's a one-to-one matching. But for the potential match transactions, those are not one-to-one matching. Those could be one-to-many or many-to-one, or they could be many-to-many matching. So let me show you what I mean by that. So from trip budget, February 19 for the food category, we'll have $120. So in the trip budget, for the food, we have $120. And this is one single record. Now in the bank statement, if I look for the food on February 19, you see here we have two records. One record for breakfast, one record for the dinner, but they're both for the food category, and the total amount is $120. But between the two tables, they are matching not as a one-to-one, it's a one-to-many. So that one record matches two records. The total amount are the same. So that's why those four over here, they are potentially matched transactions because they are one-to-many, or could be many-to-one, or they could be many-to-many matching. Now, the very top group for those unmatched, so from trip budget on February 19, entertainment will have $160. And from the bank statement on February 19, entertainment will have only $30. We'll have a difference of $130. So they're not matching. Now, if you look at the second record, February 19, miscellaneous, will have $10 being budgeted. But from the bank statement, February 19, miscellaneous will have spent $140. We'll have a negative $130 difference. So actually, if you look at the two can offset. If you think about this entertainment and miscellaneous under maybe a higher category, so the two together, they could still match. So when we go through those unmatched transactions, we might be able to find more can match. So that's how we use Copilot for Finance to perform reconciliation. But now one thing we need to know is when we use Copilot for Finance to do reconciliation, the data we are using, they shall not exceed 10,000 rows or 30 columns. That's the limitation. So we have now the report. We can actually produce a sum report. But here I'm using the Copilot for Finance on the preview, so it's not generating that report. But I can copy this entire report and use a Copilot in the browser to generate this summary. So let me go to my Copilot. Let me first type my prompt. Please write a detailed summary report based on the reconciliation report I attached.
This is cool.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I can go back to my Excel to copy my entire reconciliation report. So I will select the entire range of this report, and I'm going to copy that simply with Control-C, then go back to my Copilot. And then I will paste into my prompt bar.
I didn't know you could do this. I had no idea you could do this.
Yeah. We can simply copy and paste. Now, when paste over here, it actually pastes two things. One is a picture of that range. Another will be those content, the number and text, which I don't need. I just need to have a picture. So I can select the content portion, and I will delete that, only keep the picture, and then I will submit. So now Copilot is analyzing this picture, and it's going to write that summary report for us. And this may take a few seconds.
Yeah, but Steve, this is so cool because you called Copilot for Finance right from Excel. You did this really complicated thing, which I don't even know how we would do it manually. It would take a very long time, and keeping track of, that's too many tables to keep track of, just too many variables. And now you're able to get a what does this mean report from this that you can just send to stakeholders, executives, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. So with this summary, it gave us overview and talk about the 2 different worksheets, the discrepancies and recommendations, and final conclusion. So now let me come back to the Excel.
Yeah.
So I want to mention that anyone can use this, and it's very simple to do. And for now, the Copilot for Finance on the preview, it's free. So it's simple to add that in. You just go to the Home tab. On the right side, you will see Add-ins. You click on Add-ins. So since I have this installed already, so that shows up as my add-in, but you can search for Copilot for Finance, then that show up over here. If somebody click on Add, then in 1 second, that'll be add-in. So I used to help many of my clients to do some reconciliation through a template. So they used to take many hours to do that. But now with this tool, this can dramatically reduce the time for them to process that reconciliation.
I love this. This is so cool because how many times have we had to deal with complicated budgets with here's the budget, here's the expenses, here's the other random thing, trying to make any sense of it, like reason over this. And yeah, I love this. This is really good. I
also want to mention, even though this is under the Copilot for Finance, but actually the reconciliation is happening in every single industry, every profession. Like for people working in supply chain, they issue purchase order and they receive the goods from suppliers. So they need to reconcile how much they ordered, how much they received. We can also use this tool to get that done.
I love it because, I mean, everybody in the world needs to deal with the budget in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether you're running your household, a small business, a large business, a department, et cetera, nonprofit project. But this is such an amazing tool. Oh my gosh, Steve, thank you so much for sharing this with us. And everyone, Copilot for Finance is now available as an add-in in M365 Copilot Excel. So go ahead and try it, okay? All right, everyone, seriously, go and try it for your budget things. All right, Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. See you next time, Copilot Learning Hub.